making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID. Excuse me, with dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Okay, obviously everyone saw the debate, everyone knew what was happening, we can argue, and we have been arguing about what that means domestically, but foreign policy-wise, the world seems like it's a little nutty right now, seems like it's kind of on fire. How much of it has to do with who the commander-in-chief is? Joining me now, Dr. James Robbins, Dean of Academics at the Institute of World Politics. Okay, Doctor, or I guess I'm supposed to call you Jim. Sorry, it's out of habit. Jim, America being strong, having a strong, decisive leader, how much does it matter? We're arrogant. I realize that. I'm guilty of that myself. But is it really important, or is it not that big of a deal?
Well, it's really important because deterrence is the main way to keep things from bad happening in the international community. And to the extent that we're strong, that deters the bad guys. You know, peace through strength, that's our policy. So if we have a leader who seems uncertain or, not quite there all the time, then it doesn't matter what our capabilities are. It shows our adversaries that our intent, our leadership, may not be able to respond to whatever bad things they're going to do.
Disaster after disaster has befallen us foreign policy-wise, especially over the last 3 years, from embarrassing little things like the Gaza pier, which is now no longer, to the Afghanistan withdrawal. We could go down the list. Is this them on the move because they think they can get away with it, or is this just a pattern of how the world works?
I think it's a little bit of both, but definitely America's adversaries can look at right now as an opportunity because we have a foreign policy team that probably isn't as strong as ones that we've had in the past. We have a commander-in-chief who's clearly not there all the time. And so if enemies want to make a move, now would be a good time to do it.
Yeah, now would be a very good time to do it. Okay, let's focus on a place that's gotten a lot of attention. Ukraine. Okay, Russia invades Ukraine. They've taken some territory. They are holding said territory. And now we have this horrific artillery war where men are dying in droves. Why is this still going on? A negotiated peace has been the whole history of the world's warfare, and yet that somehow is beyond the pale here. What am I missing?
Well, it's extremely difficult because obviously it's not in our interest to see the Russians overwhelm the Ukrainians. It would be great if Ukraine could take their territory back. But we haven't given them enough aid to mount a really strong offensive. So now they're just in an attrition warfare situation. And Ukraine cannot win an attrition war. Russia has 3 to 4 times the mobilization base of Ukraine. Putin doesn't care how many people die. He'll empty his prisons. He'll just send people there. He doesn't really care. So the Ukrainians are in a tough situation. If they could mount an offensive to take back a substantial amount of land, enough to give a good position for bargaining, that would be preferable. But as it stands, it's just going to maintain an attrition warfare situation, people dying by the thousands, no territory changing hands, and they just can't win that way.
Okay, so I saw a report out of the Telegraph this morning that Ukraine's not going to be allowed to join NATO because they're too corrupt. I've been told repeatedly that this is the fountain of democracy and we're fighting for freedom. Which is it? What's going on over there?
Well, I mean, that's, I can't say every country in NATO is completely pristine and uncorrupt. I mean, we would hope so. Who knows? But I mean, the idea that would be the reason. I mean, NATO is a strategic alliance. It doesn't really matter who's corrupt and who isn't. It's a question of will that country help the alliance or not. NATO could expand to Ukraine. It might not expand to Ukraine. Politically, right now, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. But it's interesting that Vladimir Putin, who said he went to war in Ukraine in order to prevent NATO from growing, now NATO has 2 members that you never would have expected, Finland and Sweden. And Finland alone doubles NATO's border with Russia. So at least from Putin's point of view, the strategic genius in the Kremlin, he actually expanded NATO through his invasion, not kept it smaller.
Okay, so where does Putin go from here? Obviously, no one's rooting for Putin because he's a dirtball, but isn't he getting backed into a bit of a corner here?
In some ways, but I mean, not really. He was already an international pariah. The sanctions that we put on Russia haven't really been effective. They're using China as a backdoor to export oil and other things that they need to keep their economy going. Their economy is actually growing at a pace similar or greater to ours. So that side of this isn't working. He's losing a lot of his men and material, but he doesn't seem to care. He just keeps ramping up the tank production. And what could be his next move? I think he's just going to continue to try to reassemble the Russian Empire, maybe, get a deal with Belarus to annex them, threaten Poland, threaten the Baltic states. I mean, the man will do whatever he can do for the rest of his life to expand Russia.
I want to talk about Poland actually specifically for a moment. Can he just take Poland? I have always thought this was absolutely ridiculous. Obviously, a head-to-head war between Poland and Russia would end in Russia's favor, but Poland is not just some lay-down country where he can storm in there, can he?
No, this isn't 1939. They're not going to just walk in there like Stalin did. Poland has a very modern, very advanced defense force. They just got rid of a bunch of their surplus weapons that they sent into Ukraine and then re-armored with stuff from South Korea, and also NATO interoperable material. Poland is very strong. Plus, there's a U.S. troop presence there, and it is likely, it is completely likely that were Poland attacked, just simply attacked by Russia, that the U.S. would intervene. It would be a NATO Chapter 5 thing. There'd be no question that NATO would be involved in that.